Hello, welcome back. If you're here for the first time, thank you for choosing to tune in. So, as we all know, there has been a story that has been developing, and I have waited a while to comment on this. In fact, I'm going to be quite honest, and I know a couple of you have been wondering, Alicia, where's commentary on all that's been going on? And I've got to be honest with you, I did not want to talk about a new book that's out there. That was just my personal preference. I'm going to be 100% honest. However, there has been a development that happened on Wednesday, and I thought, let's weigh in. There's something that we need to explore here. So there is a book which was published about the royal family quite recently, one of the many books. And in this particular book, the Dutch version of it was withdrawn amid reports that it had an error, that it had mistakenly revealed which royal commented about the skin color of Harry and Meghan's baby Archie. So the publisher said in a statement that it was, quote, temporarily withdrawing the book, and they said an error occurred in the Dutch translation and is currently being rectified, end quote. So according to reports in British media, the book inadvertently named the royal at the center of a racism row. So yes, that's what I want to cover here. I personally was just watching this from afar. I wanted to gather all the information before just, coming on here and, speaking about things on this platform where perhaps more information was needed. As I said, honest, I did not want to talk about this book. And also, Harry and Meghan, after Spare and, their documentary, they said they were moving on. They didn't want to go on talking about the royal family. And I felt like a lot of these topics were just basically rehashing what we've known, what we've seen in the press. So the reason why I have gotten to talk about this is because there's an angle that I think a lot of you will be quite fascinated to know, because I know right now online, a lot of people are weighing in on this topic it's quite lucrative, as I said, to talk about Harry and Meghan on these media platforms. For me, it's not about that. I don't want the drama. So I just wanted to sit back, just get more information. But there's something that has occurred to me as I'm watching all of this unfolding, and it's an angle that I think a lot of people have not thought about. And now this is going to be a litmus test that we're going to discuss here. So settle in, let's talk. So we have now once again retreaded that topic of the concerns and conversations about Archie's potential skin tone. We've seen a lot of people arguing from the standpoint that such conversations in mixed race families are not so out there, that people would sometimes speculate on how, mixed race children will look. And a lot of people have been trying to say it was not just a curiosity. Meghan said in her Oprah interview that it was conversations and concerns being the keyword, which does kind of drive it towards that was not a positive one as it was received by Harry, who conveyed it to Meghan. We can all tell when a conversation is lighthearted, like, will the kid have ginger hair? Will the hair be curly? Oh, we're so excited. And Meghan phrasing it as a concern in quotes, right? So it makes you wonder. Just seeing the story adapting. Firstly, we remember when the interview with Oprah aired that there was a statement that was released by Buckingham Palace. And it was a very brief one on behalf of the Queen Elizabeth. So it read like this in full, quote, "The whole family is saddened to learn the full extent of how challenging the last few years have been for Harry and Meghan. The issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. While some recollections may vary, they are taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately. Harry, Meghan, and Archie will always be much loved family members," end quote. So at the time, it was a statement from the Queen. And of course, as the commentators did, they tried to dissect the statement, and some saying, it was also very family oriented, talking about how they would discuss this in private as a family. And then there were those who said this was a, quote, mic drop from the Queen, with the statement recollections may vary, in quotes. And they said that this racial conversation within the royal family were perhaps inaccurate or even false, right? You know, the whole recollections may vary. We remember everyone saying that was a mic drop statement from the Queen. And now the story is evolving, right? So it was from recollections may vary, and then it moved on to a correspondence between Meghan and Charles, where we learned that after the interview with Oprah, where they talked about the, quote, concerns and conversations about how dark Archie's skin might be when he was born, in quotes, where they talked about that, and the correspondence Meghan sent in response to a letter that she herself had received from King Charles, in which he expressed his sadness over tensions within the family. And they said that Charles was believed to be the only senior royal to have made contact with Meghan following the Oprah interview, according to the report. So the Telegraph report also included that the letter named the member of the family who allegedly made the remarks about Archie's skin, and that Meghan and King Charles agreed the comment was said with no malice intended. That's according to the Telegraph. And it was also reported that Meghan and Charles discussed unconscious bias, in quotes. And so for those who leaked the letter, they said that it was, quote, warm. That's what the tone of the exchange was. And also, by the way, I will just quickly remind a couple of you out here that some of you truly did not believe that report at all. You did not believe that there was any type of correspondence back and forth between Meghan and Charles. But we got some more information where they addressed Meghan attending the coronation or not via a representative for the Duchess. So this was a statement, quote, "The Duchess of Sussex is going about her life in the present, not thinking about correspondence from 2 years ago related to conversations from 4 years ago. Any suggestion otherwise is false and frankly ridiculous. We encourage tabloid media and various royal correspondents to stop the exhausting circus that they alone are creating," end quote. So yes, that was her statement, quite strong. And you know, she did say this, she was going about her life in the present, not thinking about correspondence from 2 years ago. So in that statement, we have that confirmation. There was correspondence, and also Meghan truly saying that she has moved on. That's also why I want to reiterate, I did not want to cover this book at all, and that's just a personal preference. Yet again, I just felt like they've moved on. Harry said he's moving on, and I just want to move on. Harry said that, you know, they've moved on after Spare, and you know, that was just my personal preference. So I'm gonna try and stay away from much of the book, but I will address, as I said before, an angle I'm seeing in what is happening now that is very, very fascinating for you, my lovely viewers on here. So back to the evolving story. So now we have it that it moved from recollections may vary to a confirmation that Meghan and Charles talked about that unconscious bias in a letter whereby whoever leaked it to the Telegraph saw the name, singular, of the individual who talked about Archie's skin tone. Now the story continues to evolve. Remember, first of all, it was recollections may vary, trying to make it out to be completely inaccurate. On to, yeah, correspondence. It happened. And, you know, they were trying to talk about unconscious bias too. Now, drum roll, now we have it here, whereby we have in that Dutch version not only one name, but two names named in that discussion about, quote, concerns and conversations, yeah? So a couple of people who do have a Dutch version on them have been quite gracious to post what the page says. And for those of you who might doubt this translation here, you don't have to look so far. A lot of these languages kind of have similar structure if you look at them. So you can see here in the screen grab of that certain page where they name not only one, but this number has doubled here, 2. So everything we'll take with a pinch of salt. We're not saying this is the gospel truth. The Dutch version names 2 senior working royals who allegedly had those, quote, concerns and conversations. So of course, quick disclaimer here, as you know, we move forward, I'm just going to report it as, you know, has been laid out here. So that's the paragraph translated for us in, what's been alleged in this book, in this Dutch version. So you can see it right here. So if you look at the top right there, you don't have to be Dutch speaking to see there in the top paragraph, Princess van Wales, and just in the line below, Kate. This is what is written here, allegedly. Okay, so here is the translation. Quote, even after Meghan and Charles by letter discussed about probable unconscious bias within the family, after it was revealed that the King and Princess of Wales took part in such conversations about Archie, Kate has avoided discussing the subject with her sister-in-law, end quote. And for my Dutch speakers out there, I will put up that screenshot for you as clearly as possible. You can just pore over that and, let us know if that's a faithful translation of that page. So it's interesting here. Now we have seen not one name, but it is doubled to two. Hence, I'm saying I'm not taking any of this as the gospel truth or anything. This is now making the rounds in the press. Even Piers Morgan did something that is just so out there. He said it on his own platform. He named the names, and I'm wondering if at all that might have any snowball effect, because of course, there are things such as libel or slander or things like that. So, oh my gosh. So as I've said here, I'm just reading you the excerpt in that book. That's what's allegedly written in this. Let's recount one more time. It moved from recollections may vary, which casts doubt on what Harry and Meghan said in the interview, to there being a letter leak. Charles discussed unconscious bias, to it now moving on to it being not only one, but two individuals named who allegedly may have had those discussions. And also there was one more excerpt that this is what is also translated, allegedly, quote, Meghan said, but in those private letters an identity was revealed and confirmed. Charles, the king, sources say, wanted to respond to make it clear to Meghan that there was no ill will or bias when he spoke about his future grandson, end quote. So that too. So here's where a very interesting perspective has come from all of this. As I've said, the story has been evolving. We can all agree to that. So now what is happening? Two names are being named prominently. And now this is going to be very, very fascinating to see how the palace will work. As we know, in the past, the House of Windsor can be quite insular, as in when they perceive a threat, they do this. They close ranks, and then that whole hierarchy thing comes into play. For example, when Meghan joined the royal family and we saw the warm welcome that she had, the popularity, and how Harry was second most popular royal, and then when Meghan came in with her star power, and then we started hearing these things whereby they were, according to Harry in the documentary, that they were kind of upsetting the system because Meghan, being married to Harry, who was much lower in the line of succession, she could not be overshadowing the members who are above her. And we've seen this time and time again, whereby Harry himself pointed out in the Netflix documentary that it was somehow upsetting to the system to have someone who is lower than them in rank being more popular. And many other commentators have talked about how Harry and Meghan were being knocked down a peg, and perhaps, some of those sections of the press, the tabloids, took it too far. And, for those of you who say, oh no, for those who may doubt this, we saw someone who has been reporting on the royal family himself saying that they themselves were given directives to be more gentle when it came to William and Kate. But for Harry and Meghan, they were told it was just open season. They could do or say what they wanted about them. And you cannot deny it. The type of coverage that Meghan has gotten in juxtaposition to Kate is just stunning. People would have to be in absolute denial to refuse to acknowledge that Meghan has been very, very negatively reported on for just some of the most mundane things as well, right? And the royal family are all about hierarchy, all about, protecting the ones at the top. And Harry himself referenced this in the documentary. He talked about hierarchy in the royal family and how he said they failed to protect he and Meghan. Back to the point. So they protect those at the top. As we know, they refer to themselves as, quote, the firm. So think of it like a business. At its head at that time was the Queen, and below her came a strict hierarchy based on the line of succession. So that went down from, at that time, Prince Charles. Of course, now he's King Charles, then Prince William, then his children, George, Charlotte, Louis, then Prince Harry, right? And quite fascinating, if you took note in that structure that I've named there, that I have not even spoken about the spouses to these royals at all just yet. And if you think that this is just me being, pro Sussex or anti this, which I am not, I try to be as unbiased as possible. This is a graphic right here from CNN.com showing us hierarchy in this family and how it works. Just think about that for 1 minute. Just look at this for 1 second. Oh my gosh. Look where the spouses are on this system's ladder. Isn't that quite interesting? So yeah, that's some real food for thought right there. And it almost seems medieval, I feel. So, of course, we know there are thousands of people working behind the scenes to keep the royal households running smoothly. There are, the press secretary offices, those who deal with the financial aspect as well. In that structure that I've named there, the spouses to these royals. Remember, for them, when you are born royal, you are immediately higher up that rung of the hierarchy, right? And, it's just like a food chain. Those at the top get the most and it just kind of trickles down, and it works in all aspects. For example, hierarchy for them also means that particular households have smaller offices than those above them. For example, that of the Cambridges at that time or Prince Charles cannot have been more than that of the Queen, right? So also the money they receive, it just all goes like that. That's how Harry talked about that. We all know about the heir and the spare. Yes, both are born royal. Both are higher up that rung. But we've known it from years how it's been reported that the spare can be the replacement if anything happens. The heir and the spare, in quotes. That, of course, referring to aristocratic families needing an heir to inherit the title, the estate. And the spare, the younger sibling who could serve as a, quote, replacement if anything were to happen to the heir before he or she could have their own children. So we know that the spare, you are born royal, but the position that one is born into is a, quote, a non-position. It's just like a standby. With that runs the risk of someone living a pointless life of luxury, which could have happened to Harry, but he wanted more for himself. You've seen that dynamic before with Princess Margaret to Queen Elizabeth. Her own life, her private life was just lost, with what happened to her, the pressures that were upon the queen, the young queen at that time. And then, Princess Margaret was just kind of the second child, no role expected beyond playing second fiddle, which according to royal experts, they've spoken about this, that it means facing tougher and more mischievous headlines with less expectation of protection from scrutiny. That's what's said by historians, right? And they say that that's a more marginal royal, and you are seen as fair game. And the dignity accorded to those in the direct line is not afforded to those younger royals. So Margaret saw that, Harry saw that, he was a, quote, backup, a distraction, and a diversion, in quotes. So that echoed what Prince Harry said. He saw the game. It was a dirty game. He saw it played out. He saw what happened to his mother. She was a princess, but by marriage. She was styled Her Royal Highness, Princess of Wales. She had her other titles as well. But after the separation and then the divorce, how at a drop of the hat, letters were patented, issued that same year, which declared that any former wife of a prince could no longer use the style HRH. Bam, like that. She couldn't use that anymore. And she was in many ways out in the cold. Imagine that, a whole mother of a future king. The minute she was out of that royal fold, she saw what could happen. We saw people calling her, quote, a loose cannon, when all she was doing was her good work concerning landmines, and yet you could see that happening to her, and a lot more examples that I can give. And it was quite fascinating to see a mother of a future king just kind of thrown to the wolves. And now we go back to that whole hierarchical system, where, as I said before, it's first and foremost those in the line of succession, and then the born royals, and then their spouses. So I know a couple of you have already caught on as to how I'm going to tie all of this back into the main story of this piece. You guessed it, I'm going to tie it all into what we're seeing here in this reporting. As we know, the firm will coalesce and protect the one at the top of that food chain. And as we're seeing that Charles is named here allegedly in this conversation, and then Kate, I want you all to, based on what we've discussed here, what do you think will be the next move of the palace machine or the men in grey? Just share your thoughts about that in the comment section, and also allow me just here to say this kindly. Let's rise above in the comment section. Please, let's not call people in the comments, KKK and stuff like that. Let's not do that. Let's just have a very interesting conversation. We're not here for the drama. We're just here to discuss how the firm will handle this. And Harry himself, as I said before, he has talked about hierarchy within the royal family. He has talked about the planting of stories about him and Meghan. And also in the Netflix documentary, we remember in one trailer, it was said that Meghan was a rock star. And it was interesting. Words by Piers Morgan in a trailer. She was the rock star of the royal family. And, Meghan, she was someone who, according to an outlet, I love how they framed her. A very interesting statement. They talked about her joining the royal family, and I think it was Women's Magazine, and he and her were both enjoying the public interest, and even she was the center of attention, even above Prince Harry. Remember, there was a time when Meghan was, I think, the most Googled woman, when everyone just went online to figure out who had won Prince Harry's heart, right? And this was a statement by them. I love this quote. It says, "As for his bride, the question will be whether someone trained to steal the spotlight will be able to retreat from it readily, or at least step into the shadows when the occasion demands," end quote. That's a powerful statement, which all goes back to that thing where it's all about that seniority in the royal family. The one at the top needs to be the most popular with the best press, and as it goes down that rung, according to what Harry said, from what he experienced, he said it was, quote, a dirty game, end quote. So he knows it. We've seen many royal commentators, even Wooten himself, saying that members of the royal family and staff were often leaking stories about the Sussexes. Another journalist said they were told to back off William and Kate, but they could say and do whatever they wanted about Harry and Meghan. And once again, even the correspondence between Charles and Meghan, it seems that someone at the Telegraph saw it, and a few of you pointed out that Dan Wooten and Piers Morgan also had their own inroads to finding out who may have had that conversation concerning Archie's skin. And you know what this does? It reminds me of Princess Diana in her interview with Bashir, which I know some people would prefer to have it vaulted away. She said something that I think spoke to the level of naivete in her own thinking as she tried to gauge her level of importance in that family, as at the time she was the spouse of Prince Charles, who was second in the line of succession at that time. And I think you can deduce by the statement when she talks about Charles and his lady, talking about Camilla then, she thought that if Charles went through with choosing Camilla, you can deduce this, and I'm going to paraphrase it. She thought if he made that choice, then he would go the way of Edward VIII, whereby he and Wallis Simpson were basically exiled away. And she thought, according to her, she would be the one to remain in the firm because she was the mother to the future king. Charles, he would go off with his lady, in quotes, and that she and William and Harry would do all right by themselves. So by that statement, it's very easy to deduce that she had overestimated how the firm saw her or weighed her in comparison to Charles, who was born royal. And of course, he was in the wrong. Someone who's going to be the head of the Church of England, they would not have him marry a divorcee, and all the rules that they had at that time. They closed ranks around, lo and behold, it was Charles, not her. So they did everything to protect him as the heir. They had Charles where he would try to give his own point of view. That was a complete fail. But after that, you could see the firm working around him to position him to rehabilitate Camilla, according to Prince Harry's words. And, they rallied around him, not her. So she had not grasped that. She thought, and I think she grossly overestimated her level of importance and how the firm weighed her in comparison to how they saw Charles, who is born royal. And I think she did not understand how the firm would close ranks against her to protect the royal who was born into that system. So once again, that's something to chew on, something to think about. And also, by the way, yes, I'm here also acknowledging in the past that the Windsors have had women who married in, who managed to, quote, finesse the system and managed to have a standing in that firm almost equal to the born royal, I guess, if one could say that. For example, Queen Elizabeth's mother, she had married a man who was a spare. His own elder brother, the Duke of Windsor, had to abdicate off with Wallis Simpson. And, King George had a speech impediment and she had to kind of step up for him in such a huge way. She had a very strong position in that family, being, right there by her husband's side and encouraging him in this whole new role that he had taken on. So lucky for her, she cracked that system and she found herself actually quite valued in that system. He had his own issues, speech impediment, so she really had to stand by him, basically like his right-hand woman. So of course, I'm not discounting all the spouses, but I'm telling you that might be the exception. The women who have managed to have that strong standing there, who were married in, for them, I truly do think that that is the exception. You have to remember, these are people who have had ancestors who historically, they have executed members of their own families, right? So, talk about family squabbles. It's just something to chew on as well. So once again, we circle back to the theme of hierarchy in the royal family, and also the theme of heirs versus spares versus those who were born in and those who were married in, those who can be offered up in the press to divert or distract attention, those who are given protection, those who are not. And also, there has been some misnomers, some accusations that have been going around concerning the coverage of this book that is out in the press, in social media. And allow me to say this here as well as I talk about this. Allow me to say this here. This is not a pro-Meghan statement. It's just to, once again, show a couple of you out there that a lot more people had access to that letter through their own connections with the palace. So there is no need to blame Meghan. For those who are saying that the book out is Meghan's book, it kind of shows you how, in a way, it might be programming for you because you don't name Harry as someone who may have collaborated. You want to protect that royal-born prince. There's that mentality that you need perhaps to shed, where you see Meghan as the one who is easy to blame and all of that. And also, this is food for thought for a lot of you who perhaps think that Harry and Meghan are completely cut off from Charles, that perhaps you don't have the whole truth there as well. They do talk. Maybe there is even a door to reconciliation that could be opened that we do not know about. And for me, I just would like, all the back and forth in the press, the drama to stop, and press leaking on whether or not Harry and Meghan are going to Christmas at Sandringham and on and on and on. And those stories in the press to try and make Harry and Meghan look like they've snubbed so-and-so or they were snubbed. We all have to see through this. Some men in gray elements to this. Princess Diana herself spoke about them, so one cannot deny that as well. So let me know your thoughts. I love how Harry and Meghan are just keep calm, carry on. They're happy about Invictus Games and what they're going to do with that moving forward. And they've moved on. But this is going to be an interesting litmus test for the firm to show us how they do handle things moving forward. Are they moving into this century, or is it just the same old, where it's good to be king or queen, and if one is lower down on that scale, perhaps they're told it sucks to be you. I would like to see how this is going to be handled moving forward, because I'm seeing it online. Some of the camps are gathering together, blaming the palace for putting the negative spotlight on so-and-so or so-and-so. Other people are pointing out that perhaps that was not a colon. Perhaps it could have been a full stop that was not in the right place. So let's see how this is covered moving forward. Let's see if they have moved on from having sacrificial goats and those who just take the blame for others to remain in the clear. Let's see how the palace will sort this one out. So share your thoughts on this in the comment section below. So hence why I'm saying this is a huge litmus test for the royal family. We have here someone who was an heir, but now is the king, and someone who is much lower down in rank below him. You'd think she's just a step below him, but remember, it is Charles, William, the 3 children, and then Kate. So once again, food for thought. So let's see how the firm, the palace machinery, will handle this. Moving forward, I think this will be quite fascinating, a litmus test as well for Kate to see just how valued she is in that system. Or perhaps, could it be where she might find herself more empathetic with what Prince Harry has spoken about? So share your thoughts on that in the comment section below. As always, before we log off, a very special thank you to all who support this channel financially, to all of my Patreon, PayPal, and membership supporters. Allow me here to thank a couple of you by name. A very special thank you to you. JCD, thank you so much for your fantastic support for my work here. Allow me just to express my sincere gratitude that I feel so blessed to have you in my life. Thank you, and I love you. And also a very special thank you to you, TCC Sun. I truly appreciate the kindness that you've shown me here, and you have been such a tremendous encouragement and blessing. Thank you for the support that you have extended towards me here on this channel. I love you and appreciate you. Thank you. And also a very special thank you to you, Arnold Sanders. Thank you for your comments, your love, your giving. Thank you. I love you and appreciate you. God bless you and yours. Thank you. And also very special thank you to those who gave through PayPal. Thank you to you, Angel Watt. Thank you. I appreciate how you've been so consistent in your giving towards this channel. I don't take you for granted. I pray for God to bless you. I am so grateful to God for you. You have left such a positive imprint on me and on this channel, and I just want to say thank you. I love you. God bless you. Once again, share your thoughts on this news below. If you like this one, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and also follow this channel on X for more informal posts. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day, and I will catch you in the next one. Have a blessed one.